Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with a guide/commentary for the Servant Summer Camp Challenge Quest. For this one, I actually opted to simulate what would happen if you borrowed a Kiara as your main attacker. She's quite a robust one, but, you know, to the best of my ability, I tried to run a low econ team with mostly event CEs. Obviously, there's Castoria in the backline, but, well, less impactful than you might imagine. Terrible things are going to happen to that backline. Spoilers. But yeah, the idea here is that if you shop around and ask around, you could find a Kiara and just use her as the linchpin of this team. This is a very long fight, as you'll see, because Paul Bunyan over here starts with 50 gut stacks. Is it 50? It's a lot of gut stacks. And to remove these, you can either attack her directly, which you'll have to do a few times, or kill the side mobs. That's why you want to run some sort of AoE team. Kiara in particular being quite good for this because she has a very nice utility kit, and she has event damage bonuses. Now obviously if you can run this kind of setup with like double Castoria or something like that, it'll work much better. But you know, I'm just going to show you how it's like with a lower end frontline. I run Hans, and I run Paracelsus. Paracelsus I could probably have put like next in line, because these first few turns are going to be rough. Manually building charges, not the most fun thing in the world, although Hans's skill does make that a little easier. As it turns out, I get fairly unlucky in this fight, both with my early arts chains and in terms of Kiara just eating shit. But despite that, you'll see that she actually has a lot of room to maneuver. A lot of margin for error, if you will. Trying to get a cheeky swap kill, so I could put some damage onto Bunyan there. Yeah, Paracelsus would be nice if you have some sort of starting charge, which, by the way, if you have more old school art supports like Saber Nero or Tamamo no Mae, they'll work fine here. This is a fight that really tests your longevity. Because not only do you have to fight those enemies, and a lot of them, but you also have to parry various attacks. And as you saw, Paul Bunyan will periodically swap her out. I believe it's every 3 turns. She'll exit the field, but again, you can remove stacks even when she's not on the field, so I wouldn't worry too much about that, if I'm understanding this fight correctly. So just plow through the enemies, and eventually you'll, hit the end of the line. Just barely short on Kara's NP there, which is pretty unfortunate. If I had gotten like an extra arts chain earlier, that would have saved me a lot of trouble. But again, event damage bonuses are going to be doing most of the work for you here. I'll note this fight has primarily Riders and Berserkers, which means that your support casters are going to get roughed up. But team composition-wise, if you're not going to use an event servant like Kiara, you may consider an alter ego, although I'll warn you that there is a major Saber enemy in this fight. And if you have to fight it as an alter ego, things are going to get very rough. You're going to hit a wall pretty deep into the fight, so fair warning on that. If you have someone like, say, Foreigner Hokusai, you could probably get some work done there. She'll be decently well insulated against the final boss enemies. Yes, what you just saw there on Bunyan's return was actually one of her other skills, which is that if there are 11 or less enemies on the field, she'll heal them and also fully charge them. This is one other area where Kiara really proves her worth, because her third skill does give a party-wide evade. Now there is a catch for this. Because of the way Bunyan's swap works, she'll always put herself on the rightmost slot, which means that the other enemies can actually get hits in, as you're about to see. And that can mess up any hit-based protection you have. Yeah. So both Hans and Kiara lost their protection, and both are gonna... Well, both are gonna die, but Kiara has guts, so that's okay. That's her backup plan. So obviously if you can run this with someone like, I almost said Squirteria, Castoria, or you can get Mash's buffs up, or you have like a Taunter intercept the stray hits, you can make it a lot more secure. But again, Kiara has a lot of bounce back potential. She has a lot of, she has a big margin for error between her guts and her, flexible kit and her evade and whatnot. Not to mention the healing on Mermaid Meat. At this point, I'll remind you that Noble Phantasms actually break your chain in terms of deciding when enemy guts affects pop. So if you're confident in your damage, you could try putting 1 or 2 cards before your Noble Phantasm. And what this will do is that this will pop one of Bunyan's guts with the hits, another on the Noble Phantasm, and do some extra damage with your extra card. A little bit of optimization. Yeah, Mashir is doing a fair bit of work in terms of keeping the team protected. Really, she's probably the better frontliner than, Paracelsus, if you're running a slow team. Yeah, Kiara took a nasty hit there, but it's not going to be a huge problem. She should be able to wipe this front line. Oh, that's right, she doesn't. I guess even with event bonuses, a Moon Cancer is a Moon Cancer. Bit of a decision to make here. Either I can use Paracelsus immediately with 2 Kiara cards, or I can try to go for a Kiara Brave Chain. I think the right play here is actually to go for the Arts Chain with the Paracelsus NP. We'll see if I actually do it. I don't! Off to the Brave Chain. A very greedy play, because Paracelsus has a defense buff with 2 riders on the field. Sorry, a defense debuff. That's pretty ambitious. I don't recall getting punished for this one. Oh, I almost did. Jesus. Yeah, so the reason why I'm hesitating here is actually because I could use Kiara's skill immediately and go straight into an NP. However, I'm only 10% off, which I can get just via being hit, ideally. I went for the taunt though, that's interesting. I guess I wanted to just use my... use my evade skill first, because that also indirectly increases, well actually it directly increases their damage by applying debuffs. But yeah, off the screen with Mash, and as you can see, that is one of the big roadblocks. That's Spriggan, because you see, when the Spriggan and Bunyan are on the field at the same time, what'll happen is what you just saw. Big attack buff and accelerated charge. Now, the attack buffs are only really a problem for the first, like, 3 turns, and really only for the first, like, 2 turns after it happens, because those buffs gradually degenerate. And I believe the charge buff is on the timer as well, although a somewhat longer one. Yeah, that Spriggan's going to take a fair number of hits, which is probably why you don't want to run an alter ego. Or maybe run an alter ego with like an archer backup. Yeah, Paracelsus' Noble Phantasm at this point isn't really doing anything of significance. These enemies' health values are way too high. And, you know, riders as well. Oh no, no riders on screen. Never mind, false alarm. But either way, you know, you're smacking them with a pool noodle. So opt for the defensive play with Mash, and I believe that is the correct play. Now here I have a bit of a conundrum, because there's no way of stopping Bunyan from NPing in this game state, because even if you pop her guts, she'll just, you know, rebound and do it again. Now I opt to sack Paracelsus and Mash. Here, that may have been a mistake in retrospect, but I do get away with it. Both are running out of steam at this point. Now, this backline isn't exactly free-to-play friendly, at least the Castoria isn't. What I would put instead is, like, if you have any kind of charge accelerators, they'd be good to put in for a final bit of gas. Defensive servants, servants that can donate evasion and invuln. Taunters if it absolutely comes down to it. Now here I run Hokusai as my reserve attacker, and in theory, it should have worked. I guess. In practice, well, you'll see. You are fighting berserkers after all, and, you know, things can go wrong. Yeah, I'm really struggling to decide how I'm going to play this, because you see, Eric Bloodaxe there, he giveth and he taketh away, because when he enters the encounter, he'll actually give you health, charge, and reduce your cooldowns. However, when you break his bar, he'll immediately gain full NP and just go to town on you. So here, I have to protect both Kiara and Hokusai and commit my major defensive buffs, which will leave me with very little else going forward, but at this point, Castoria is expendable, which is why I said her impact in this is less than you might expect. Well, in this run, I should say. Like, realistically, I took her because I have to run something on my support slot. And while I could have gone for like a Garbo servant or just something random to simulate taking Kiara as my support, I was feeling lazy. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Okay, yeah, that's the trick I was talking about earlier, where you go for the face cards on Bunyan to pop a Guts and the NP to pop another Guts. And then the extra card for some more damage. Now, at this point, Hokusai would be able to NP and finish one of them off. However, she eats 3 hits and dies. So, that's not going to happen. Now, luckily, Kiara here is well stocked for the fight to come. Really, it just comes down to deciding whether I want to take out Bunyan or Blood Axe first. After Eric Blood Axe, the damage is a little tighter than I'd have liked. But truth be told, Kiara's an AoE NP. As long as she doesn't die, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, and with that, 19 turns to glory. Or 18, whatever. I'll count it as 19. We do use the 18th turn. Yeah, overall, a little luck and a lot of patience, and you'll be able to do this challenge quest without too much issue. If you have more elaborate attackers, well, you know, you can make this fight go a lot faster. Just remember to pace yourself. But with that said, I hope you guys found this useful, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.